TJ, before we dive in, it is worth talking about, you launched the Coach Developer Academy in 2020. We've seen extensive growth worldwide, 68 member nations and growing. Talk to me about that academy, what we've been doing to develop the sport worldwide and what that looks like.
Yeah. So I think, when we talk about development, a lot of times we focus on like the really big things, like the number of countries that are playing or the number of athletes that are playing. And, those are all great things and worthy causes. But what really makes the difference out in the field, right, of play is, the number of coaches that we have, because coaches do their thing, right? They're going to go and find more people to play for them. They're going to create an experience that the athletes who play for them are going to go tell their friends about and recruit more players. And really, that's what's going to help, close that, those gaps in the competitive field when we start talking about, country A playing country B. So one of the things that, we've focused on here for the last 2 years now is really equipping the national governing bodies, the 68 or so members, to start training and increasing the knowledge and the skill sets that their domestic coaches have.
We have Anna and Henning, and they are here today to talk to me a lot about the coaching development internationally.
We're a bit special in that we actually started working together in 2019. And this is because we're also both on the World Lacrosse Coaching Development Committee. So we actually helped determine what was in and not in the curriculum and why for the past 5 or 6 months before we actually launched the curriculum to make sure that it represented the needs of coaches around the world and NGBs around the world. So on that committee, we had everyone who was then invited to be that first cohort of the Coach Developer Academy. So it was coaches from US, Canada, Chinese Taipei, Australia, Henning from Luxembourg, me from European lacrosse, and I coach locally in Norway as well. We had Finnish representation. We had some additional Asian countries involved. So it was like an incredible experience where everyone could give their local on the ground needs and have it be taken into consideration by World Lacrosse, so that we could develop something that made sense. And really our guiding principle for this was cultural flexibility. We needed something that was broad enough to fit the needs of a lot of different people with a lot of different histories, and be able to create a really positive sport culture that would lead to, getting as many people involved as possible, retaining as many players as possible, and just creating coaches that were confident about what they were doing on the field and that they were going to create really positive change in the sport.
One of the biggest roles that we will need facilitators or coaches to achieve is to motivate players to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Luxembourg, our turnover year on year is 50% because people have jobs and then they move on, or they have their family changes, or whichever it is. But it's not your typical European club environment where the same 20 names that you had last year, you're going to get 18 of that. You're going to get 10, and that's a good year. It could be 5.
Mm-hmm.
So if the more you can get into making lacrosse fun again and making it something that you want to go back to and that you want to enjoy and just kind of, cherish the opportunities you get to compete.
So much of what we talk about has to do with sustainability and program sustainability, so that we talk about, and this is probably one of the most surprising things that has come out of running these clinics, is that we talk about succession planning before minute 29. One of the first things we talk about is who is coming after you. And we talk about talent identification, not for players, but who is going to take your job. We have to make sure that, we're looking for the next, round of coaches.
Anna, you've been intricately part of coaching development, both with the ELF and World Lacrosse since 2019. And Henning, you have also been part of all of this. Where do you see this development going in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years?
2020 was the year of alternate solutions to coach development. We had our plans on pause for a while because we really wanted to get the benefits of in-person learning for our coaches, doing clinics in conjunction with a lot of the European tournaments, so that coaches are already there. We can just train them while they're there. But when we saw that travel was not going to resume in September last year, in 2020, we said, okay, we have to figure out a different solution here. And so I was determined to make it as good as or better for our participants to get even more out of the curriculum that we had originally planned by going digital. The amount of engagement we're able to get here with that actually saves time, that allows us to use the time we have to go so much deeper into problem solving, what coaches actually need help with that day, and not just the big picture questions, but how do I make your life better today? What can I fix for you? What can I help you figure out? Has been the most rewarding thing. And to see how different each group is has been really enlightening for both of us as we go. But I know from the ELF side of things, our big plan for the next, I would say, year and a half would be just capacity building. We want to be, we know that we're going to run this course now for the next, little bit, but we are already identifying the people who will then run it for us.
If I could write where do we want this to go? So I would want to see a kind of environment of European lacrosse where lacrosse coaches are coaches of the game and not coach of men's lacrosse or women's lacrosse or box lacrosse or anything like that. Because it really is fundamentally the same stuff. Find the 2-on-1, exploit it, score a goal, do that more often than the opposition, win. That's it. It's a very easy game to learn. And it's, I think, unless you're one of the kind of 0.01 percentile of the world, impossible to master. And that's the best thing about it, because there's always another trick, always something new to do. Like I've coached for 20 years together with a coach on, we're running these courses. And I'm supposed to teach there, but in all honesty, I'm always taking 2-3 cool things away where I'm like, wow, that's really clever. I'm going to steal that. For me, sports has been a fundamental pillar of personal achievement and development and success and all these other things. And this is something that we can give to people that do sports. It's something else. I see too many kids who are stressed out about school, about this, about that, Facebook, Instagram. Oh my God, it's all this. Calm down. Here's a stick. Here's a ball. Who wants to score 10 goals? It is so amazing to play lacrosse. And if we can get people to just experience that a little bit more in whichever way it works, that's going to be amazing. And that lacrosse coaches are lacrosse coaches regardless of who's on the field, that players play whichever game they can play, and that we play it in a way that celebrates the unique heritage and nature of the sport.